My left leg broke a dry twig, making a loud crack. The native jumped, holding his knife at me. Unsure if he was dangerous or friendly, I aimed my spear at him. We faced each other for 2 whole minutes. I kept a smile on my face, though my muscles ached from the effort. Finally, the fear on his face eased, and he smiled back. A civilized person's smile might need caution, but a native's smile is trustworthy. I lowered my spear first. He lowered his knife and offered me the half-cooked rat. I politely said no. As he continued eating, I tried to talk to him. I tried several languages from South Pacific Islands, but he didn't understand. He was very interested in my spear, pointing at it and repeating, "Hantonja, Hantonja." I didn't know what Hantonja meant. Using hand signs and drawing in the dirt, I spent an hour showing that I wanted to reach the coast. He took time to make me understand he was going there too. We found that simple drawings and hand signs were our best way to talk. In the next hour, I learned he had escaped from Bojan's villa. He drew a house with a special pointed roof, clearly Bojan's villa. Then he drew a small figure running from it, pointing to it, and then his nose. I drew another figure next to it, holding 2 spears, and pointed to myself, showing I had escaped too. He looked at me strangely, clearly wondering why I had run away. I couldn't explain such a complex story through drawings. He patted the bamboo tube at his waist, looking at me with suspicion. I looked back, unsure what the tube held. He hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a milky liquid with a strong, strange smell. He quickly sealed it, clearly valuing what was inside. My heart raced. I remembered Luo Zhiqian's story. That liquid was the immortality drug. He made a sign of drinking from the tube, then pointed to Bojan's villa, shook his hand, rolled his eyes upward, and stood like a statue before pointing to the running figure again. I understood he was explaining why he escaped, but his signs confused me. Drinking the drug, pointing to the villa, and shaking his hand likely meant Bojan didn't give him the drug, but the rolled eyes and statue-like stance. I couldn't understand that. I asked repeatedly, and he repeated the signs, but I still didn't get it. I gave up for now and invited him to go to the coast together. He agreed eagerly, then drew a small island, pointed to it, and said, "Hantonja." I realized Hantonja was the island's name. He was inviting me there. A spark of excitement hit me. As a native of that island, he would be an expert at finding his way. To leave this place, he was my best guide. Plus, Hantonja was where the immortality drug came from. Visiting it might reveal its secrets. I nodded excitedly. That night, we talked more through drawings. The next day, we set out together. On an island, going in one direction will eventually lead to the sea. Following this, we reached the coast. The beach's sand was white like flour, covered with beautiful shells, some smaller than a finger, others large enough to be the native's bed. We rested on the sand, then began planning. We spent 3 days cutting down a dozen trees, weaving vines into rafts, and making wooden barrels filled with river water. I gathered plenty of fruit and caught a dozen large crabs, tying them to the raft enough to feed us for a month. Then, we pushed the rafts out to sea, riding the outgoing tide southward. The rafts floated for days 7 in total. Floating like this to find an island seemed almost impossible, but the native was hopeful. Each night, as the moon rose, he would cheer loudly. On the 7th night, he kept scooping seaweed from the water and tasting the seawater, a native way of finding direction. Then he picked up a large conch shell and blew into it. The conch's long, sad sound echoed. He blew for half the night, making me dizzy, until a similar sound answered from far away. I couldn't help but cheer at his amazing call for help. The answering sounds grew closer, and soon I saw 3 canoes coming. It was dawn, the sun just rising. The canoes moved fast, reaching us quickly. Each of the 3 canoes held 3 natives, looking and acting much like my friend. My friend, after almost half a month together, I could call him that, shouted, speaking quickly in their language, like a machine gun. The canoe natives responded in the same language. We got into their canoes, and one native offered me a large bamboo tube, opening it. Inside was the milky white immortality drug. For half a month, I'd watched my friend sip it carefully, never more than a gulp or 2. I didn't think I would live forever, but I wanted to try it. I hadn't asked for a sip, privately thinking him selfish. Now, with a full tube offered, I was eager to drink. I smiled at the native who handed it to me, but my friend suddenly yelled, grabbing the tube away. His grab was so sudden that half the liquid spilled out. He glared at me, shaking his head furiously. His meaning was clear, he didn't want me to drink it. I was furious. I could accept him not sharing his own tube, but to grab one offered by another, that was too much. My anger came from knowing this liquid was the real immortality drug. I'd seen its amazing effects and wanted to try it to not be afraid of gun wounds, to live forever. I let out an angry shout, reaching to grab the tube back. But at that moment, my friend pushed me hard. The push was sudden. I'd trusted him as a friend and didn't expect him to do this. Caught by surprise, I stumbled backward, almost falling out of the canoe. He shouted wildly, waving his arms, seeming to yell at the others. I realized then that he held a high position among his people. As he made passionate hand signs, like a very excited leader, the others listened silently. The canoes kept moving forward. Suddenly, a huge wave made his voice impossible to hear. He seemed to finish speaking and pointed at me. Before I could understand what was happening, a massive wave and 4 natives rushed at me. If the natives had attacked first, I could have fought them off. But the wave hit first. It was enormous, powerful, turning the calm blue sea into wild, dark gray water, like 1,000 wild wolves charging. The wave didn't target me alone, it hit the whole canoe. In a moment, the canoe was underwater. The sudden chaos made me dizzy, unsure what to do. Then the 4 natives jumped on me. They held me down, each grabbing a part of my body with one hand while holding the canoe with the other. I didn't fight. I felt no bad intentions. They held me tightly only to keep me from being swept away. Even if they meant harm, I couldn't have fought back. The waves were too strong. I felt very small, like a peanut, thrown up and pulled down again and again. The confusing and hard time lasted half an hour. I don't know if I threw up. I was barely conscious. I'd had a lot of sea experience, but these waves were brutal, each one feeling like it would rip my insides out. When I finally woke up, I was still bobbing up and down, but no longer held down. I moved my hands and suddenly felt mud. For someone who had just survived such a very strong storm, the sudden feel of mud under my hands was incredibly happy. I gripped the soil tightly, sat up, and the dizziness disappeared. Opening my eyes, I saw bright green. I was on the beach of a wonderfully beautiful island. The green was the sea, so calm it looked like a still emerald gem. But looking further, beyond the calm water, I saw a gray-black edge of churning, always moving waves. I understood instantly. That was the stormy barrier I'd just crossed. This island was surrounded by never-ending waves all year, calm for only a short time each year. That's why it was a hidden paradise. Moving my gaze, I saw several natives nearby, all looking similar, but I recognized my friend among them. As I did, he came towards me. In that moment, I wasn't sure whether to treat him as a friend or ignore him after his aggressive actions on the canoe. He came close, pointing forward, signaling for me to stand and follow. As I rose, my body swayed, and he steadied me. He seemed friendly enough. I wouldn't turn against him, but now that I was on this island, I was determined to try that white liquid. I followed the natives forward. The island had few trees, as Luojikian had said, mostly rocks. But the rocks were strangely shaped and brightly colored, making the island feel like a magical place. The most common plants were giant bamboo-like stalks. They weren't real bamboo, though. I saw them bearing pale flowers and heavy fruits, the source of the immortality drug. From the beach, we walked to a deep valley and stopped. The plant's many fruits could keep the islanders alive forever. The natives relied on it as their main food and drink, each carrying a bamboo tube at their waist, sipping the liquid sometimes. I was settled in a spacious bamboo hut, cool and airy. Soon, someone brought a large plate of food, mostly fish, shrimp, and a fat, delicious clam. I pointed to the native's bamboo tube, signaling I wanted a sip, but he moved away, leaving the hut. His reaction made me furious. I shouted and rushed out. As I did, my friend ran toward me, surprising me with a machine gun in his hands. For a moment, I panicked, ducking back into the hut. But he followed, and his actions made me feel better. He set the gun on the ground and signaled for me to pick it up. I grabbed the machine gun and checked it. It was an old gun from World War II, still in good condition, loaded and ready to fire. He pointed at it, asking with hand signs if I knew how to use it. I nodded. He looked pleased. I didn't yet understand what he wanted, but then I heard steady drumbeats. Looking out, I saw natives coming from huts, gathering in an open area. My friend squatted, drawing a fish-like shape in the dirt, clearly underwater. Inside it, he drew 2 armed figures, one a fat man with a big belly, obviously Bojin. At first, the fish shape was unclear, but now it was obvious, a small submarine. Bojin and Luo Jiqian, armed, were coming to the island. His intention was clear. He wanted me to use the gun against them. I nodded, pointing at the figures and raising the gun, signaling I could handle them. But new questions came up. The islanders drank the immortality drug daily, making them not hurt by bullets. Why fear Bojin and Luo Jiqian's guns? Luo Jiqian had lived here for years. The natives must know he was bulletproof. Why give me a gun to fight them? I tried to show my confusion, which took time. When I finally understood, my friend grabbed my arm, pulling me out of the hut. Outside, about 300 natives sat in the clearing, drums beating steadily. None were old or young, all looked around 30. This made me realize something. The white liquid was a strong medicine that stopped aging, making life last forever. But it must destroy the ability to have children. Otherwise, the island's population would be millions, not 300. The lack of children proved it. They had lost the ability to have children. As I thought, my friend led me forward. I didn't know where we were going. After a long walk, we reached the top of a hill. 4 large, square stones formed a box, with a stone slab on top. My friend lifted the slab and signaled me to look inside. My heart was full of doubt, but I stepped forward. When I looked in, I froze. What I saw wasn't strange, but it shouldn't be here. I saw a dead man. The man was surely dead, even though he looked almost alive. He was a native, with dark skin and curly hair, sitting calmly. But his chest had 2 dark open holes. I had a machine gun. The native pointed at my gun, then at the holes in the dead man's chest. His face showed great fear. I understood right away. The islanders probably didn't know that their daily immortality drug gave them eternal life. They might not even understand what death was. This man's death must have scared them a lot. How he died was clear: machine gun bullets. If bullets hit other parts of his body, he might not have felt anything. But through the heart, that killed him. The immortality drug didn't make them super strong. Their heart was their weak point. Luo Jiqian knew this. He probably killed this man. This also explained why Luo Jiqian was so desperate for me to help him escape from death row. The electric chair's strong electricity would stop his heart, so it could kill him. That's why he had looked so panicked, like a man facing death. That was one reason I believed his trick.